What is up, everybody? You are kicking it with the homeboys, and this is another episode of Moron Real Estate. What is Moron Real Estate? It's where we comb the internet and come after all those posers out there posting bogus and negative stuff on real estate investing. We take our experience, we try to add some value to our listeners, and we call out the ones that we don't think are very good, and we're also here to tell you the ones that we think are very smart. But anyhow, without further ado, I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Scott Adams. How are you, sir?
Couldn't be better. You?
I'm doing great.
Good.
On to some new stuff. He's excited. I'm excited. We have no idea what these videos are. We're just ready to dive in. You ready, Scotty?
I'm ready.
Let's do this thing.
Don't buy this house, buy this. And let me tell you why. So the house previous I just showed you, that house is pretty much big, moving condition, and you can't add any dwelling unit because the yard's already taken up by the house. So you already peaked out on that. There's no money made on that. The money is made on these houses. You buy a smaller home and you add more bedroom and bath because the basement is unfinished, and you remodel and you make instant equity. But the big play is in this backyard. In Seattle, you can actually put up a 1,000 square foot ADU in the backyard, okay? And it costs about $300,000 to build these, and these things are worth probably about $650,000, $700,000 separately. So when I buy these, I get big equity and I get better cash flow. Get it?
I mean, it's fantasy land out there in the West Coast. I mean, the numbers are just so wacky. It's just weird to me. Like, I literally don't even know what to say because the math is so... I don't know what the rents are to make that actually return, if it actually does return. But as if you can just put houses in your yard and make more money. I mean, most of the country, there's enough space where you're not having to add a house to your house to make money.
Well, I mean, I would think that there'd be a lot of zoning restrictions.
Yeah, he's saying if you do under 1,000 square feet, it could be whatever.
I still think there'd be a lot of zoning restrictions, but, I don't know. I mean... I think it's hard to say don't do this and just show some random house, buy this. I don't know. We don't know anything about those houses. I mean, basically the advice is saying go find a house that's got a yard and, put, other dwellings, on it.
It sounds absurd to people like us who live in the Midwest, who we buy value homes. We look for solid cash flowing assets. It's just a different world than that. So I don't know how to analyze it. I can tell you one thing though. The first house he showed, yeah, and there is not a market in the United States where you should buy that as an investment. I can tell you that. The homes that you should look for look closer to what that second home looks like. So, and generally speaking, I think that's an important thing to know.
It's kind of interesting though, because to add a personal spin on this, a couple of years ago, I bought a house that had a lot of land on it, and I am putting another, house on it.
Right.
So I mean, I have experience in taking a single family, parcel of ground and adding it, to you have to parcel the ground off. Here I don't know what the laws are in Seattle. Had to go through these huge zoning meetings. I had attorneys involved. I had architects involved. I had surveyors involved. I mean, I set $25,000 on fire just to be able to do something. So it's not as easy as just buying something and saying, oh, it's got a yard, I'll put something else on it. Do your homework, people. It's not that easy. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but do your homework.
I'm just picturing what you bought, what that would be worth in downtown Seattle.
It'd be a lot.
It'd be worth a lot of money.
It'd be a lot.
How many acres?
8.
Yeah.
8 acres.
Can you imagine? He'd have 100 homes on that sucker.
He would. But like I said, that's part of my problem with some of the videos. They make everything sound so easy. Do your homework. Lots of red tape. Anyhow, next up.
So for this house you want to buy, it looks like your closing costs will be about $7,000.
Wait, you mean like in addition to my down payment?
Yes, don't be silly. You owe us more money. How would you like to pay me?
Okay, can you just tell me what I'm paying for?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it depends on your state, okay? Property taxes are different. Usually closing costs are 2 to 5% of the loan amount. So a couple $100 for home appraisal, a couple $100 for home inspection. Gotta pay your loan application fee, gotta pay some origination fees. Don't forget about attorney fees if you need an attorney in your state. Gotta talk about private mortgage insurance if you're less than 20% down. And then of course we gotta collect like 2 to 3 months of property taxes for escrow. So are any of these fees like negotiable, or I just don't have a choice? Totally, some of these fees are negotiable. Lender fees like origination fees, application fees, and then of course you can shop around for home insurance. Property taxes, not negotiable.
Yeah. I mean,
I think what she said is pretty legit.
Yeah. I feel like almost none of it's really negotiable just because the market has taken care of that. Right now, the mortgage market, it's very competitive. So, these mortgage companies are pricing their products at incredibly cheap, what we're used to historically prices. So, I mean, the idea that you're trying to negotiate a $250 mortgage fee down to origination fee down to $200, maybe you can do it, but it's already pretty skinny for them.
Yeah.
So I'd be careful. I'd almost be careful with anyone that will accept negotiations right now. I mean, because the good mortgage brokers, they won't do it because they don't need to. So I'd almost be wary of someone that would discount.
Right. I'm actually kind of pleasantly surprised with where she took this video. I thought it was going another direction, and I was ready to kind of like, jump on this and like shoot it down. You know where I'm going.
I do.
But it didn't go that way, and actually did a relatively, I shouldn't say relatively, I think did a pretty good job of explaining the costs. And I think that for the most part that they were pretty, pretty in line. She's right. Real estate taxes, it varies from state to state to state and city to city, really, county to county. Here,
sure,
I'm in Indiana a lot, so do your homework on that too. That's a challenge.
I could be surprised, but I like this TikTok a lot because she's talking about the boring parts that no one talks about and everyone gets surprised by as a first time home buyer. And much less an investor, but as a first-time home buyer, I'm sure it's shocking for these people.
Oh, it's a good point. I mean, a lot of people skate over these, and you're budgeting for a $15,000 profit on a place, and then it gets 2/3 that gets ate up in closing costs.
Right.
Why are you investing in something that nets so little? So
yeah, we throw an over on when it comes to investment properties. This still holds true, and we throw an overhead on properties above and beyond what we expect these closing costs to be because there's all kinds of other things that come up, like when we buy houses in Florida, we have tax stamps. There's just all kinds of little things. And I'm glad people are out there talking about it. It needs to. So kudos.
So here's why buying a house in 2022 is going to be easier than ever before, part 1. In 2021, we saw record low interest rates, so a lot of people refinanced their house. This is how a ton of lenders capitalized on that because they offered a lower rate as people were not buying houses during the pandemic. So now they're projecting for 2022 that there's not going to be as much refinances. So they're loosening their requirements on being able to purchase a house because not as many people are going to refinance. This means they're going to offer low down payment programs, exceptions on low credit scores, and easier financing options. If you want more real estate tips, head to my YouTube channel, link is in the bio.
Oh no. Oh no. He's right. Why haven't I thought about this? Oh no.
you cracked the code.
Well, he's right. It's already ridiculously easy to get a mortgage and borrow more than you should. And he's right. It's about to get even easier. The banks aren't about to get better. They're about to get worse. And by worse, I mean better for you because you could buy a house with less down and easier qualify. Mm-hmm. Worse for the country because there's going to be a lot of lending that shouldn't happen. I didn't even think about that aspect of rates going up. He's right. Think about that.
Rates are definitely on the rise.
And what do banks do when rates go up? They try to make it easier to borrow so that they can keep loaning. And it's already, we think, too loose.
So you're completely on board with the with the reasoning.
Here's the problem.
Okay.
I haven't.
But I don't understand why that would be bad.
Why I'm scared of it?
Yeah.
Because like we talked about, these banks are already loaning more than they should to home buyers. Mm-hmm. They already are. People are buying more house than they should actually qualify for, in my opinion, and yours.
True.
And if they just get looser and looser with that and smaller down payments, then people are screwed if they, lose their job for 3 months.
Well,
They won't have the cushion.
I'm talking from a selfish standpoint. I mean,
it's good for us.
I think it's great.
It's great for us.
I don't know. Yeah. It's we used to buy a lot more than we're buying now.
A lot more.
20 homes a month, and it's half that. And I don't know. I'm waiting for there's going to be a straw that breaks the camel's back at some point. I mean, this gentleman could be right. It's could be this. We lived through the mortgage meltdown of 2000, 8, 9, and 10, and they were lending to anybody. Stated income, no doc. I mean, it was, and I wish I could go back, even though I was buying a lot at that time, and you were buying a lot at that time. We should have been, pulling the dump truck back and loading up everything we possibly could have. So we've talked about this in private. That I think we will both be ready for whenever that day comes again.
Yeah,
if it comes. But
you're gonna see the two of us build a portfolio that's incredibly sizable instead of just flipping everything. We're gonna take advantage when that happens. So yeah, Clint's right. Selfishly for us, this is good because it's going to. It's not going to take much to bust this market, in my opinion. Everyone thinks this market's so hot, and there's some really good fundamental things in the market. There's not enough housing for as many households as have grown. There's a lot of good things, but there's a lot of really negative things in this real estate market right now, and this could be that next little edge that causes it.
And the other thing is just the raising rates alone, and we have to get out of our small-minded thinking here because we're in the Midwest and our home values aren't as much. But you think, what does 1% do to some of these cities in California? Their average home is $1 million. So say if it's an average home, $1 million, that's 10 G's a year.
40, I believe 40 cities in California alone.
It's a lot.
Are $1 million.
You gave me that that video last week.
The article or video, yeah.
So, it's transitioning, but anyhow, food for thought and a lot.
Kind of blew my mind. I don't know why I haven't thought of that aspect of it with increased rates.
Right.
But he's right. I bet credit will loosen significantly, and I already think it's too loose. Now, don't get me wrong; it'll be good for us
because it is.
But it's already too loose, and if it's about to get looser, who knows what could happen?
All right,
next.
Housing crash has been coming for 10 years, if you read the news. So I don't believe in any other shit or reading the statistics or any other stuff. The one thing that I pay attention to, very simple, is the actives on the MLS. I look at the single-family residential actives. So about 4 months ago, 6 months ago, I really started paying close attention to it. I wanted to watch what was happening. And one of them was the single-family residential active count was 1,800 at one time. For those that don't understand what that means, let me give you perspective.
That's crazy.
In 2008, when the housing market crashed, and there was such an abundance of inventory that they were having to drop prices $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 just to get someone to walk in the door and consider it, there was 28,000 single-family homes on the market compared to 1,800.
1,800.
What does 1,800 represent in a nutshell? It's about 0.8 months worth of inventory. So if not one person, if nobody put another house on the market for 3 weeks, Las Vegas would have 0 houses to sell in 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's crazy.
After the 3 weeks was up, we'd eat through all of it. There'd be nothing left to buy. So that's how low the inventory is. Mm-hmm. So I started paying attention to that because I want to go, okay, what am I experiencing on the outside and what is influencing that experience? Oh, I understand when prices can jump $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 per house, it's because the inventory level is representing 1,800. I want to put that in my brain so I never forget it.
I dig it. I mean, we've talked about that within our market, and it sounds like he's talking about a pretty large, real estate
Las Vegas.
market.
Vegas.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a moron. I missed that.
Yeah.
But here we're talking here in metropolitan Indianapolis. We're a lot less than that. We're talking about Fishers in general, where our office is, and there's like 25 homes ish.
We looked at this the other night
on the market. It's mind blowing. So, I mean, I think it's a good thing to look at. I mean, where we are at and where our office is at, it's already practically zero. Like there's literally not any inventory.
Right.
If you're on the semi luxury to grand luxury in where we're at, there isn't anything. There's not a home.
According to MyBor, I think we're at 1.5 months of inventory, but that's really not even true, because half of the inventory that's out there is available is garbage that someone just sticks out there, and it's not indicative of fresh houses for sale. So it's even less than that, and I would argue Vegas is probably even smaller than what he's saying because of that. If you subtract those. However, listen, this is a very important statistic. It's a very important market indicator that everyone should keep their eye on who's heavily investing in real estate. You should watch these things. But for him to say he ignores everything else, that's not right. I mean, there's a lot of other indicators in the market that you should pay attention to. This is just one of them. Is it one of the most important ones? Yeah, it's one of the most important ones. But there's a lot more to keep your eye on.
It's a good point. I think another important thing to touch on in this, and I talk about it a lot, is how can there's going to be a mass exodus in real estate agents, in our country. We have hundreds of real estate agents in Fishers, hundreds. 25 houses for sale.
Right.
Multiple
agents per house.
Correct.
It's crazy.
We've seen a flood into the market of people leaving this profession to get into real estate, and I can only speak to our local market here. I just don't see how, at some point there's going to be a mass exodus of people saying, I can't put food on the table by being a real estate agent anymore because I have nothing to sell. You could have, 200 buyers lined up in a row as your client, and that means nothing.
Can't do anything.
What can you do with them?
I have realtors, I told you this, knocking on my door regularly. I live in a very prime spot, a very prime location and a good house there. So it's very desirable. But nonetheless, there's realtors out there knocking on doors trying to find houses for their clients. And what's the failure rate of realtors? We learned that back in
that was a long time
school.
ago. It was, within 2 years, 2 out of every 3 real estate agents that got their license. Right. Something like that. Don't quote those numbers. I'm trying to go back 20 years, but something like that. It's high anyway. This elevator ride of a market that we've been on, goes against that, a lot. But now we've reached to the point where there's zero inventory.
Right.
What do you do? I've talked about it before. If I was a retail real estate agent, which I'm not, if a buyer came to me, I would ask them, okay, are you ready can you pay all cash? Can you pay 10% over list price and waive the inspection and the appraisal purchase price gap?
I don't believe a house in my neighborhood.
Assume taxes, because if they're not willing to do that, then I don't want them as clients, because I'm not going to put them in my car and drive them around the city when I could be, home watching, Cinderella with my daughters.
Yeah, if you're not willing to do
wasting a person's time.
Yeah, if you're not willing to do an escalation clause into almost infinity, then you're not gonna get a house. And all these realtors, how many people are willing to do that? There's not enough buyers for that, and there's not enough houses. So it's a mess of a market for realtors. But this is a good indicator to keep your eye on as a real estate investor. But there are other important things to also watch that we can go over, and we go
escalation clause to infinity.
Yeah, escalation clause into
makes me think of Buzz Lightyear.
But there's a lot of
infinity and beyond.
There's a lot of other stuff on the Homeboys podcast that we cover. So check that out if you want those.
That's
tips.
A good plug. Every Friday, check us out. New Homeboys podcast at the Homeboys Pod on Facebook and on TikTok. This is an episode of Moron Real Estate for this week. If you're posting bogus crap out there, this guy is coming for you, and he gets very angry. Don't make him angry. We love having you. Till next time, happy investing.
Go ahead and clap.
That blew my mind. How have I not thought of that? It seems like a fundamental.
Because you're a fucking moron.
I'm an idiot.
That's right.
I'm a moron.
That's right.
Did we name this after me?
This is my show.
Is this my show? Is that why this is called Moron Real Estate? Am I just finding out?
You've been punked.
Look at this idiot.